Oh, what's going on in your house?
Lots of stuff.
I see that.
Lots of things. Oh my God. And it's like it's airing right on the screen here. So yeah, lots going on in my house.
I
Jeffrey, welcome back to the show, brother.
How's it
We
going?
got I'm doing good.
Are we live?
We're live already because I just heard all that stuff that Victoria just said upstairs live on the show. So it's all good. We're live. Jimmy G is going to join us in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about our sponsors, Jeff.
Sir, how's it going?
I'm doing good.
Are we live?
What are you doing? Turn your goddamn volume down.
Fuck, okay, mother.
Let's talk a little bit about the sponsors, my man. Israel Arm Wrestling Club, as usual. What are you drinking there?
Today I made a salted caramel Kahlua with almond milk, cinnamon, and vanilla.
Oh my God. Joe Woodland is in the house already. You're drinking salted caramel maca choca bullshit. And in honor, you can tell I'm using a green screen because the bottle is not showing anything. Oh, that's pretty cool. In honor of Mr. McGregor returning to the UFC this Saturday, I will be indulging in the man's whiskey brand himself. Proper 12.
Sponsors.
You want to talk about the sponsors?
They don't sponsor us.
No, they don't, but they should.
Oh, well, we better do it. Cheers, brother.
Cheers. And yeah, let's talk about the sponsors. We got Israel Arm Wrestling Club, the best arm wrestling training equipment and tables out there.
And that's not even because they sponsor us. That truly is. They're great price, great value, and absolutely exceptional.
And the channels are interchangeable. The channels. I'm reading Evan's comments in here and getting it all mixed up. The handles are all interchangeable. So they're very versatile. But not only that, we got that draw going. So Joe Woodland is officially entered in that draw. All the membership, whether it's Patreon or YouTube channel memberships, when we hit 100 active members, we will draw for that table. And that table will be sent to somebody free of charge.
Nice. And let's talk about the Israel arm wrestling gear as well. All the handles, you don't need a fancy gym setup. You can use all that stuff just on a set of bands. So it's like you said, it's very versatile.
It is very versatile. We got Insight Arms, custom Insight Arms, custom scopes. Yes.
Custom firearms.
Custom firearms.
Yes.
Nice. Then we got Misfit Powerlifting and Strength. And of course, our good friends at Western Survivor Beef Jerky, the best beef jerky in the whole world.
On the planet today, Western Survivor. Check them out, westernsurvivor.ca.
Now, we got Jimmy in the waiting room, but let's shout out our alpha members on Patreon. Jeff Frank, Bruce Williz, Bryan Koerner, Jon Umpherville, Gary Roberts of ARM-TV, Joe Fox, and Mike Dumas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And yes, Joe Woodland, you are correct. It is $1.99 Canadian per month. That's all it takes to get you in there. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for Jimmy G?
Jimmy G, Philly's Jimmy G.
Well, without any further ado, Jimmy G is in the house, and he's connecting to audio right now. Can you hear me?
He says he's connected. Now you can hear us, Jimmy.
Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep. Can you hear us?
Tremendous. I hear you great.
Just one sec, Jimmy. Don't be saying that stuff in the chat, Corey. Keep that stuff down on those other arm wrestling shows. We only support the best beef jerky on the planet, and that is Western Survivor.
Western Survivor. It's here you say it, Jimmy G.
Hey, listen, give me a breakdown of this Survivor Cherokee. What makes it so good and so different? Because
Canadian made AAA Canadian beef, Ontario, Canada, badass.
It's an ancient family recipe that's been passed down for generations, and there's nothing better.
That's it right there.
All right, brother. Welcome to the show, my man. The Italian Stallion is in the house.
In the house. Locked, loaded, and ready to engage.
I've got so many questions I need to ask because of all the stuff that we've been going back and forth with.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is your guys' show. It's good to be on the other side of the table for once.
it is, but I know you got some stuff you want to talk about as well.
I'll mix it in as we go. We're gonna flow like water here, bro.
Cheers to you. And I'm drinking the proper 12 tonight in honor of Conor McGregor returning to the cage on Saturday. And what do you got there? A little Gatorade with some Grey Goose?
I bought a special glass. I tried to find a pimp chalice. Couldn't find one. Went to Walmart. This is the best I could do. Tonight we're switching up a little bit. We got the Grey Goose and a Bang. Give me a little kick so I can
nice.
Give you guys some good entertainment tonight.
So talk to me about let's talk about your origins. Like you got the Church of
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Jeff's cutting me off already. He's like Gary Roberts right from the start.
No,
Did I?
Whoa.
Whoa. Back a second. I need to talk about something. Is there a super match with Evan Burgoyne and Curtis Cameron going down?
Yeah, it's coming up this weekend. I just saw it posted. Curtis Cameron, I think, just posted it. Evan might have just posted it, but yeah, it's coming up this weekend.
Okay, Ryan, what's your prediction? What hand is it?
Both. They're doing both.
What's your prediction?
Evan Burgoyne, probably 3-0 on the left. I'm going to say Curtis Cameron, 3-2 on the right.
Do you, Jimmy? Are you familiar with Curtis Cameron?
I'm not familiar with him, but I am familiar with Evan. We met on New Year's Eve. He came in hot. I had the cuffs on me. I had Roger Bailey with me, and I'm trying to help build his name up. So I had to tone it down. Plus, with all the guests and whatnot, it was pretty hard to get that one-on-one conversation with him. But after that, I didn't know until a few days, after that he plays an act on the internet.
You're breaking kayfabe.
And then I watched his. I sent Ryan a video. Evan sent me to watch his. They did a little thing on Blaze, and I really got to see inside his mind a little bit because he's a hard guy to figure out when you first meet him. Because
who, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, there's more substance to him than the fuck yous and all that crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Like you said, there's a lot more to Evan than the fuck you.
Well, here's the deal, right?
There's a lot of judgment, not just in arm wrestling, but in the world in general. And I try to not judge a book by its cover. I try to figure out for myself. And we've gotten to get to know each other real well. I had him on my other show, Vibe Sessions, which I do just the bullshit and get to know people. I'm going to interview people outside of arm wrestling on there as well. But me and him are like peanut butter and jelly, man. Some people don't know how to take him because he's real in your face, but he's right up my alley. I really enjoy the guy. I've seen videos of him pull, but I haven't seen him, recently. And I'm sure, and he hasn't competed since September. So I'm sure
he reminds me of a Travis Bajan. And I'll tell you why. Travis Bajan is the same way, but both those guys will give you the shirt off their back. I can guarantee it.
Well, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope.
Well, one thing about Travis Bajan I've seen, he gets judged even more so, I think, than Evan. But one thing I don't know if he knows, but I'll let you guys know, is when he's on there with Gary and whatnot, every once in a while, his daughter or something will pop up in the scene, and he'll go right from Travis, the movie star, to dad. And I can see it like that. And you could tell. And not only that, the people who really know him, for years and years, and you can see it when he trains people as well on the table. He's very engaged. Like he's all about his money, as all you guys who've been in this for a while. and have earned the right to, get something back in return. He doesn't just take the money and run. He definitely puts the time in. You could tell he's passionate about the sport, but he's a very charismatic guy. And some people, like I said, quick to judge. And, I think I haven't met him face to face yet. I'm getting pretty close, but I can tell as well as him, just like Evan, that there's more substance to him than meets the eye. That's a thing with a lot of guys in the sport.
Yeah. So
can we,
one of my favorite things about that whole New Year's Eve show, where Gary Roberts might have set the record for sure he set the record for length of time on a time straight on an arm wrestling podcast, maybe any podcast.
Yeah.
But I think Evan broke the record for the amount of time muted on an arm wrestling podcast.
Some of those moments where he's muted, where he really you could just see it.
Yeah.
And I just was like, man, I wish I could figure out what he's saying. He was doing that to me once, and they unmuted him, and he's like, I said everything I needed to say while I was muted. And I'm just
he's the easiest guy to lip read.
That quick wit, I love that in people. He's not afraid. In the Vice episode I seen, he's not afraid to be himself. Even though he loves to drink, he's a happy guy. He knows where he's doing. He knows where he's going. He's a family man. You could tell when he talks about his family, like I did on that episode, he had some of his family there. And you could just see like the change. They don't even know it, but you can see that, like I said, there's more. Even I do it. I have all these personalities, and it's just, I'm good at imitations. Like if I spend time with anybody, I can, within 15 minutes, I could probably talk and act like I'm, not because I'm trying to be like them. It's just one of those useless skills I have. And that comes from me moving all around, growing up. Which I could break down, a real quick breakdown of that. If you guys
Can we talk about one more match before we get into that?
Yes.
Jeff, Jesus. Okay, go on.
This is a fucking arm wrestling show.
No, but listen, you guys probably haven't had events in a while, right? You're probably pretty excited. I mean, Jeff, you're excited, right? I'm sure there's a lot of killers in Canada that haven't had a chance.
Jeff's excited. You know what he's excited about, I think?
Hold
he's
on
got a shirt on that he should be excited about.
Let me see it. All right, guys, listen, before you get into the match, Jeff, I seen Travis with that first. Can anyone explain to me what this is?
Yeah, this is Jason Gully's clothing line. It's never been beat. Is it neverbeenbeat.com, Jeff?
Yes.
Are you sure?
No, but I'm pretty sure.
What are you sipping on,
You got to
Jeff?
plug it because he sent me one too.
Yeah, I would love to. I'll purchase one of these things.
Yeah,
neverbeenbeat.com. Right, hot ticket.
Neverbeenbeat.com. Head over there, grab one of those shirts.
What does that
I got
mean?
one of those too. But
what does Never Been Beat mean?
It's just a brand.
Oh, okay. I thought there was some kind of subliminal message in there,
Depends who wears it.
Everybody's met that guy that's never been beat, right?
Especially in bars, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are. Okay. This weekend, I want to make one more prediction, and that's Roger Bailey Leonard against Tim Lewis.
Oh, yeah. I can talk about this week because I'm familiar with both men. Go ahead.
Okay, you started.
I would say, are they going both hands or one?
I think it's just left.
That's left. Roger's left is strong.
What is it? Yeah,
what I've seen from Tim, if you can flash him, that's probably the highest statistical chance of beating him. But if he catches you, you're in a whole heap of trouble, and you better have a lot of stamina, which Roger does have. I'm a fan of both guys. Tim's been in the sport for a long time. He's one of those guys who will take super matches more so than maybe he needs to at this point in his career, which needs to be commended. Shout out to Tim Lewis on that. Roger Bailey, I'm going to say 3-2 Roger Bailey, just because I've watched his progression. He was on Gary's show with me on New Year's Eve. I was at his house. But I've watched him. I do commentary, so I've been able to do commentary on a lot of his matches, and I've watched the progression and the work ethic. He's very humble, which is one of the great qualities of most men in this sport is their humbleness.
I like Roger Bailey. I like the stuff he
doesn't
puts
brag.
on.
I mean, he doesn't brag, and
I dig those videos of him with his the pull-ups he does off the deck boards or whatever they are.
He did pull-ups off. Evan was nuts.
I want to see him do more side pressure, though. He's got to develop some side pressure.
I will tell you this, Roger's weakness, he questions himself sometimes.
Yeah.
And the higher you go up these ranks, and I know I'm new as far as being on the table, but I'm learning also by doing commentary, by watching the big name guys pull. So I'm getting two different educations. And if he believes in himself the way a lot of people do in Pennsylvania, I think he can take it, but it's going to be tough.
Well, Jeff, you wanted to make a prediction, so what's your prediction?
What's Jeff's prediction? Go ahead, Jeff.
I you know what? I've watched him pull live. He was in Kansas City. I've watched Roger been his progression in the sport. I think Roger takes this. I think he takes it 3-1.
What about you, Ryan?
3-0 Roger.
Oh, Jeff.
If Tim stops in one match, it's going to go the other way.
Roger, you're on Front Street. You're in the driver's seat, buddy.
Yeah. We got some questions, Jimmy. I want to get into a bit of your origin story, but I want to also talk about, we got some questions from you in the chat. Like Billy Berg is asking who your favorite arm wrestler is. And while you're thinking about that, there's another question that's going to be even trickier to learn to think about. If Jimmy G had to choose, what is Jimmy more passionate about? Making it further on the arm wrestling table as a competitor, or the whole editing / filming side of arm wrestling, which is Jason Merlot's question.
That's deep right there. Jason Merlot's
question.
So what was the first question?
Who's your favorite arm wrestler?
I could go with any of the main guys that you see on the wall or, world champions, but I think I need to give you an answer without me sitting here for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. I think I need to go with someone that I've seen firsthand. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Black Ice. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Yeah.
Jeff,
he's got a super match coming up, doesn't he?
I don't know how his biggest accolade, but I admire guys more that go through long matches and persevere versus the dominant wins. And one thing that's I've seen and I'm picking Black Ice because when I'm there in the moment, and I could go through a lot of guys, but out of everyone, I've seen the most wars with him. And there's just no quitting this guy. And as a commentator, I get emotionally invested in these guys. And I feel like it's like I'm a little brother cheering them on. And sometimes for the guy that I'm rooting for, I'll rag him on there because I want him to give everything he's got. I want to piss him off a little bit. It worked with one of my teammates. He got flashed, a guy named Ed DeCruz. Got flashed by a young man named Khalil Grizzly on his first round. And I kind of made a big deal about it. And I went over there to check on him after the first round. And he gave me this look like he wanted to slit my throat. And I was so happy that he did. I was happy because that's what I wanted. And after that, he just was a killer. So, but the wars, like I said, is what I really enjoyed watch. Another guy, as far as that I haven't seen in person, would be Cobra Rhodes. And I say Cobra because I think out of everyone in this sport, as far as philosophically, me and him match up perfectly.
Yeah, that's
as far as the way we look at life. Cobra leaves little innuendos in his comments. And I don't know if he does it on purpose, and I believe that he probably does. Little clues for people to figure out.
Yeah, he's very intelligent that way.
Yeah, and I catch these things. He's the one person out of everyone that I would love to interview. He's on the top of my list. So I would go with those two guys.
Cobra's a really good interview. So the next question.
Yeah, the other question has been bothering me for about 6 months. Because when I first got in this sport, and this will lead me into my story about you, Ryan, how you tie into all this. When I first got in, it was just arm wrestling. And I enjoyed that part and that part only. And then, but I've always been witty with my mouth. I'm quick with the jokes, and I don't know. I think I'm a good time. One night, it was one tournament. I just decided to go live, and I started doing commentary, and I never did it before. It was totally random, and I had the greatest feeling when I did it. I had a greater joy out of it than pulling. It was a little bit confusing, but I went with it. And then I watched your podcast. It was last year. You were, I think it was Espey and Gabi at that time.
Yeah.
You had Paul Lynn on, and I was probably 2-3 months in the sport. And I asked a question about your mindset before you get on the table, and you brought my name up, and I was so excited. Anyway, while I was doing that, I was simultaneously editing couple of my matches on my phone on an app. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I got the ideas from Game of Arms. Do you remember when you seen Game of Arms, and whenever someone gets pinned, you hear that boom, kind of? You ever?
Yeah.
I'm like, nobody puts that in their matches, man. I'm like, they post their matches, and this is before I seen any of the guys who do editing. I had no idea that anybody did editing. So the very first night that I started editing was the night I was watching your show. I just find it ironic that the very first interview I do on the other side of the table is with you on the other end.
That's great, man. I love it.
So that's when I started editing, and I got a couple of guys who messaged me and said, "Hey, man, that's pretty cool what you did with your video. You think you can make me a highlight video?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll play with it." It was fun. And I draw like I'm 6 years old, so I had no artistic talent, but I had fun doing this. And then Paul Lynn says to me, because I've been thinking about doing a podcast probably 6 months to a year before I did it. And it's one of those things, like I have this thing, I want to do stand-up comedy as well, voiceovers on cartoons and acting, and that's a whole other story. But I really got a feeling from doing those editing things that I never felt before. And it was like, Paul said, if you really want to go somewhere with this, buy a real camera, get yourself a laptop, and really go after it. And it took me a while. And I grabbed the Best Buy credit card. I don't have the money to buy all this stuff. So I grabbed the Best Buy credit card, and I charged $2,000 that I don't have. And I said, you know what? I've never invested money in myself, really, ever in my life. 43 years old. I don't know how old you guys are. How old are you guys, just real quick?
44.
How about you?
32.
Okay, you're young.
Yeah, right.
You're a kid. You got your whole life ahead of you.
He's lying to you.
All right, me and Ryan are right here. You listen, young man.
42.
You're going to hit a point in your life. I don't know if you want to call it a midlife crisis or whatever, but everyone has an awakening in their life, whether you're ready for it or not, where it's like your soul says, everybody's put on this earth to do something. And something just connected me with that. So I spent all that money. I get the editing program, which was like $400. And I just picked it up and I started using it. And I started creating right away. No training, no tutorials, no nothing. And my stuff in the beginning wasn't great. And it's not great now if you want to compare it to the big name, Joe Drelick or Brad Cook, not even close to them guys. I look up to those guys. But it was enough that it got some attention. And from there, it just, I would go to these tournaments and film. I would do commentary and I would pull. I used to call it the three-headed dragon. The problem with it was by trying to do all three in one tournament, I was never really good at either one. So I'd have these mini conversations with guys. And I'm like, because my arm wrestling, I had a steady progression in the beginning to where I wasn't like a great amateur, but I was doing all right to where I wasn't like garbage. But I enjoyed the other two more, and it really, really confused me. Like I felt like I wasn't supposed to feel that way. So yeah, I have to make a choice. And to be honest with you, I don't know if this makes me sound like less of a man or not, but I worked 10, 11 hours a day. You had Barbosa on your show.
Yep.
He talked about his job. You got to pay your bills, feed your family. And I'm in a plumbers union in Philadelphia. So I'm lifting a lot of pipe, a lot of weld, a lot of heavy boxes all day. So I'm like, I miss out on gym time. I miss out on table time because the editing process to really make it great and authentic is a pain in the balls. I'll take one match and I'll do it 10 different ways until something speaks to me and says, that's the one. Then you go back. It's like different, like drafts, writing a script or writing a paper for school, rough draft, couple different drafts. So that 20-minute video or that 30-minute video, I'm up all night sometimes because I don't know what I'm doing. So I encounter errors and all that. To be honest with you, I think I enjoy the filming and the commentary more than the arm wrestling, just because I think I can have an immediate impact on the top tier of the sport in those two regards. And the table, the actual me on the table, I have to be on the table to feel like I'm a part of it. I don't want to just be a funny guy or a cool guy who films videos and does commentary. I need to be in it. That's what makes the passion burn. If I can somehow improve all three, I've been on autopilot for a long time and it burns me out. So while the filming and the editing while the editing and the filming and the commentary, I think is improving, my skills on the table are going down, and I need to find a way to either level it out or just chalk it as an arm wrestler and just arm wrestle when I can. But I feel like as far as having a future and up top here, I think the first two, as well with the podcast, there's so much untapped passion in this sport, and I don't need to figure anything out. It just comes natural to me. I'm not being conceited or anything. I just have this ability to connect with people because of whatever, stuff I've been through or whatever.
I completely understand what you're saying. So you just need to find the balance.
Yeah.
Whether it's but if you love one aspect of it, the community appreciates it all. So you do what makes you happy.
It's highly unlikely I'm going to win a world title. So what I've said to people, when the evolution of this sport is talked about, if somehow my name's brought up, that's my world title. If that makes any sense to you.
It makes perfect sense to me.
So that's it. Yeah.
And we have to mention two things before we continue.
Go for it.
Number one, because I've already put the link to your channel, the Church of Arm Wrestling, in the description of this video. And Joe Woodland left a $5 super chat just to say that he went and subbed to your channel.
Nice. I appreciate you, man.
And we appreciate the super chat. And then Arm TV jumps in here and leaves us a $10 super chat. It says, Jimmy has some big time natural skills. Will be interesting to see where he takes it.
That's the thing too. I've been doing this for 6 months and it's like, I'm still green. I'm very humbled that you even had me on your show. Thank you guys for having me on your show. But I just feel like, I don't know. I don't know if no one's ever attacked it from this angle, but I love to keep people guessing. That's why some people get confused about me, because it's like, I like to talk about the DNA. I tell people I'm on a search for the DNA of the sport, which is a serious issue. It's something to be taken seriously. And I do a lot of research on whoever's on the church, but I also like to have fun. And I think that one thing I learned from Barry Bourne is everybody takes things too seriously. I don't take him seriously at all, but he's a good time. And I think that part of this sport is having fun. There's so many unique personalities in this sport. And when you have people do these interviews and they talk about pretty much just arm wrestling or techniques and whatnot, that's great, but that's not what I'm here for. Like if I try to have a educational arm wrestling podcast about the ins and outs of all that, it would be ridiculous because I'm not there yet. But if you want to get to the heart of the matter, like I like to dive into people's character.
You're bringing personality to the show.
Yeah, how they became who they are. Like, let me deal with that part of it. There's other guys who can deal with who've been in the sport for 20 years who can go into that conversation. You know what I'm trying to say?
It's your niche, man. And the first time I ever noticed, like really noticed one of your videos, like I've always been aware of the Church of Arm Wrestling since you started, but that Rocky video you made blew me away. Like I was like, okay, I got to talk to this guy more.
That connection I have with that is very, very deep, very deep. It's sad in a way.
Well, I would have said that I was you were the second biggest Rocky fan on the show, but I think I'm probably somewhere behind you here.
Yeah.
Hey guys, on this topic, we're talking about passion and arm wrestling.
Rocky Balboa?
No, can we take 5 minutes and just maybe not 5 minutes, even just a few seconds here, and
let's go.
Maybe, Randy Chamberlain, who passed away here last week, the fight that guy went through with his cancer, and really is a testament to the arm wrestling world of who we are. And just take 5 seconds, a moment of silence for Randy. He was a national pro bowler here in Canada, and his story hit me deep, and it's sad that he lost that battle after that fight. But I just wanted, we were talking about passion, just maybe 5 seconds of silence for Mr. Chamberlain. Thanks, guys. Rest in peace, Randy, and you'll be greatly missed.
Hey, Jeff, I feel like if you're okay with it, would you share a story with me about him? Because I would like to feel a connection with this guy.
So I met Randy last year at Nationals. He pulled in, believe it. What division was it, Ryan? It was the one.
Brother, we're talking. When we say last year, we're talking about the summer of 2019, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Sorry, the summer of 19. He came to. He's from Moncton, New Brunswick. I believe he pulls with the Hub City. What's their club called? The Hub City Arm Wrestling Club or something like that. He comes from New Brunswick. He came out to Edmonton, pulled nationals. I believe he either won or placed second at nationals the summer of 2019.
he definitely medaled. Yeah,
he medaled for sure. I can't remember, but just so he had a battle with cancer. Now I can't speak to what type of cancer he had, but I know he's been battling for quite some time. He come out to nationals, and when I heard the story, it really, really hit me to see the determination in this young man's, just in his blood and his desire to beat the cancer and come out there and pull an actual medal. It really hit me hard. And when I seen that about a month ago, when they'd actually cured the cancer, it was so relieving to see him beat that and the excitement in his eyes. And unfortunately, what happened after that is the chemo attacked his lungs, where he had to he couldn't breathe very, very good anymore, and it just slowly deteriorated his health. And last week when he made the post that he was going to be put on induced coma and on life support, and so his lungs could heal. And unfortunately, he didn't make that. Make it through. It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, that story of Randy really hit me hard. I know the arm wrestling world has lost some really good guys this year, but just the fight that he put up was tremendous, and the desire in that man's eyes was. Yeah.
Jeff, I'm just going to clarify because Scott McGinnis from Arm Sport Videos, Hub City Hitmen was the name of the club. He's from Moncton, New Brunswick, and he captured the national title in Edmonton. So he did win gold.
Yeah. So he.
Yeah, what are you laughing at? No, we lost a guy in Pennsylvania as well, Jim Bryan.
Jim was a friend. So
Bryan,
Jeff, would you mind if I took a few seconds of silence for him? Because I was just getting to know this guy, and I was going to go train with them. I have a text message from him, and I'm never deleting it just because I don't want to.
100%. And there's another guy that passed away this year too, or last year, from a heart attack at an arm wrestling event too. So 100%.
I don't think you do that. One thing that that really hits me in the feels is the way that this community comes together when there's a cause. It's the rarest sport I've ever known. I grew up playing football, baseball, track, and whatnot, and learned everything I learned from about teamwork from football. But what separates this sport is I'm learning about family. It's like a family. It's like a family reunion when you get because of the vast distances that we travel to not just arm wrestle each other, but to see each other. You know what I mean?
Well, and you hit it right on the head. And you don't. It's a sport where you don't even need to travel to gain some sort of connection with the arm wrestling world. Just because we're so interactive on social media,
yeah.
You become family just off talking online or over Facebook. You really gain connections with people, and that's what I love about the sport.
I know. I never imagined that not only would I be communicating with people around the country from east to west coast, but international, all over the world. It's nuts. I mean, I'm not going to see all these people, but you can still develop some sort of a relationship.
Yeah.
Hey,
sure. Jeff, I think you were talking about, was it Bob Koschel you were referring to? The referee from the States. And Bob was a friend as well. And it's actually, I think it's his birthday today.
I know that's another one. There was another, he was a young guy that passed away too. And Mike Yellow I think knew him quite well, but nonetheless, I can't remember, but there was some really legends in the sport.
I'll tell you guys a quick story if you're interested.
Yeah, go for it.
There was this family that came out. There was friends of mine in Portage here in my hometown, and the little girl got burned in a house fire, and she needed some money to help the family. And the provincial championships for arm wrestling were that next weekend. So I got on the mic and I started bawling and talking about this little girl, and we passed around a boot, and it came around back with a couple $1,000 in it for this kid. So and the family. So that's what the arm wrestling community can do when they, get together. And
Jamie Sheldon cut a $2,000 check. His wife's best friend had breast cancer, and he had an event. And it's like I said, it's just that thing. And to touch on Rocky, that feeling that we've held with us for all these years, all us Rocky fans, it's a thing. It's a living thing. It's an emotion that it's kind of hard to put into words, but I found it in the sport. And not that it's not being shown, but I think I can really.
Yeah, I think you can. And there's so many characters out there.
Oh my God.
There's guys like Jonathan Bretta,
right?
Who talk so much shit about everybody.
Yeah, what's up with that?
And not even including tonight. He's saying, I want to get.
Jonathan Bretta is a good dude. No,
I agree with you. He's saying it looks like I want to get my left arm pinned. But I want to talk to you about. I want to hear your story, Jimmy, because you told me that you did the tour past the Rocky 5 bar where the final fight was. Yeah. And you told me that even if we went on the tour, if I came to Philadelphia, we could not go in there for a drink. Now, why is that?
Closed. I think it's closed. Oh. But that area, if you've seen through some of my footage, is pretty dangerous. I'll tell you a quick story.
Is this the one you told me the other night?
Am I allowed to tell it?
Yes, tell it.
Oh my God. You guys are gonna see I take it to extreme levels to show you guys what Philly's like. And the reason I was showing the Kensington area was it wasn't like that for me growing up. But that particular day and the months, I've filmed it there a couple times. And the trick is, the way to get the good footage is to film on green lights, not red lights. because they come up to your car. So we were filming at a red light, my cameraman and myself, because I'll drive through the city and he'll film. And I do that because I think Philly gets a bad rep sometimes. And when I drive through the city and I'm looking at buildings, I'm looking at the sky and stuff, my personal viewpoint is I'm thinking about the men who built those buildings. I'm like, wow, you know, what it took to build those buildings, or how beautiful the sky is. And I'm trying to show the people of the city in a different light, the way I see it. And I go through Kensington, which is that area. That's where Mixed Gym is and all that. That's probably per 100,000 people, there's probably one of the most overdoses in the country. It's a war zone there. So we're at a red light filming. This guy comes up to the car. What are you filming for? And I'm like, and my buddy's getting a little bit worried. And I'm like, he's like, come on, pull off. And I'm like, hold on a second. Let's see what happens here. This guy reaches in his pocket. Maybe he's getting a gun, but he didn't get a gun. He pulled his weenie out. He goes, you want to film something, film this. And I'm like, oh shit, we got to go. But, and then they throw in beer or glass bottles in my car. It's a war zone down there. But I was saying to Ryan, I'm going to, I know a lot of the Rocky locations, and besides Kensington, you know, when you go to the cemetery, when you go to Rocky's house, the original one in Rocky 1, another dangerous place. I went down that road to get a shot at it. I was going to actually do a quick scene from his steps, but it was surrounded by hooligans. And I was like, this ain't going to happen here. But there are some places, I mean, the Rocky Steps, my God, that's my place. Like, you sit on top of those steps and you overlook the city, and you just say, you know, you remember what happened there, and people from all over the world go there. Probably the most visited place in the entire city. So there's a lot of people, a lot of different energy that's been through there, and everyone's running up their steps and, you know, doing the thing. And it's really amazing to see that movie affected so many people. You know, me growing up, and my daddy was always there. Like, he gave me all the cleats and because I played sports all growing up. He gave me all the stuff I needed, but he never really took the time to like figure out who I was or kind of guide me. Like, I don't know, some Italians get a bad rap for not treating their women very well. And that's what I grew up with. So if I ever needed a pick-me-up from an older man, I relied on the Rocky movies, probably up until my early 30s. And wow. Yeah, Mick yelling at you, calling you a tomato. You're a tomato. And I would see, like, you know, you watch the Rocky scenes now, like on YouTube, like quick scenes. You ever notice how Mick and Adrian would just tell him he's going to lose all the time? All the time. You can't win. Or Mick telling him he ain't shit. And then all of a sudden switching it and saying he's like Rocky Marciano.
I think if you put a little bit more effort into that, you could do a very good Mick voice.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I lost my voice. You want to know why? Yesterday, I have this thing where I spill something or I lose something every single day. It's so frustrating. I had a nice hot bowl of oatmeal on my way to work. Man, that was going to be good. It was. But it spilled all over my car while I was driving. And I was screaming, Mama, and I lost my damn voice. But yeah, absolutely. I could give me a couple minutes watching that. I can do any voice.
Give us your best Mick voice.
All right, hold on. What do you say? Let me see. It's going to be horrible. I never really tried Mick. You had the talent to be a great fighter, but instead of that, you became a leg breaker. It's a living. It's a waste of life. Or when Mick's dying on the bed on Rocky 3, and he goes, and he's lying there, and Rocky goes, Adrian, what am I supposed to do? You know, and Mick goes, You mean to tell me after 20 years you don't know what you do? You should be ashamed of yourself. Now just get out there and do it.
That's pretty damn good, man.
Yeah. I had no voice. It would be better if I had a voice. But yeah, the movie, but to be honest with you guys, and I'll be honest with you on here, the name the Italian Stallion is trademarked. So
you
if
can't
I
use
ever,
that?
I can't use it.
Wow.
I mean, I have a close friend of mine. His name's Joey I, professional cutman in boxing. Boxing in Philadelphia is the history deep, very deep. And this man is my direct connection to Rocky itself, which just enhanced my connection to it. He was in Rocky 2. He was a little kid. And if you watch there's one of my videos where he's in it and I point out where he's at. He was in Rocky 5 real quick as a cut man. Like 2 seconds, I couldn't find it. But he was in Creed when Rocky first walks in the gym. And that little Italian guy who greets him, that's my buddy, a close friend of mine. And he's like, yo, if you ever blow up with this, you're going to have to drop that name. Because they'll give you a cease and desist letter, and you're going to have to get a lawyer. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. No wonder there's no Italian Stallions anywhere. And I just got that Italian Stallion table. Did you guys see that table?
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I saw you arm wrestling on the steps.
Oh my God. You know how deep. That's why I put that Star Wars shit in there, because I don't know, I have a connection with that franchise as well, because there's a lot of hidden life lessons in that movie, even though it's sci-fi. But when I looked at it, see, when I'm filming, I have this uncanny, and I don't even try, but I always end up with someone next to someone who's never been there before. And I just see the lights turn on in their eyes and how and they get the bug, and I see it happen. I mean, that's something, you know, that's something that needs to be shared. If you want to grow the sport, you got to hit people in the feels, and not a lot of people are willing to go there, but I'm all the way there. I'm going there. 10,000, 110 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that movie's deep. What about you? What does it mean to you? What's it been in your life? It's just a good movie or what?
Are you talking to me or Jeff?
Both of you.
I'm not
My
a movie
goodness.
guy, so
My goodness, man. You have no idea.
I want to hear your deal. Because real quick before you start, Rocky connected me with Jason Merlo. Jason Merlo is another one of my favorite arm wrestlers. He would probably be my number one favorite if I seen him more. I seen him at the Keystones this year. Listen, these guys who are loud and screaming at the table, that's all. Some of that's entertaining, but you know what guys are really scary? The ones who are silent and don't say a word and just own you. Those guys are terrifying to me. And Jason Merlo was one of those guys. It looked like a machine press where just the whole body is just in unison. Like, and that only comes through repetitions. You can't fake it. It's no, there's no new guy that's doing it as smoothly as him. That's why I call him the silencer, because instead of getting in your face, he's all business. Yeah. And one of the greatest things about this sport is watching these smaller guys take down the bigger guys.
And I agree exactly what you're saying. And Corey West asked earlier in the chat about what my favorite arm wrestler was.
Who's your guy's favorite arm wrestler?
What are we talking about Corey West for?
Corey West, I hope he's healing up good. He's a guy that's coming up through the ranks pretty damn quick. And he's a big dude. His hands, holy crap.
He's going to be a stud. Cody Merritt told me today he got his cast off today, and his prognosis is really good. So congrats on that, Cody. And in about a month, he's going to be ready to get into some serious training again. So, but yeah, my favorite arm wrestler is right on the same lines, and that's a guy out of Edmonton, Alberta here by the name of Kelly Leach. And I actually got to go train with him last night. But, you know, he's a guy that I always and Ryan can attest to this, but he's that same thing. He's very, very quiet. He sits by himself, but, you know, an absolute killer on the table. And I'll bring him down to the States, and you guys will get to see him pull here eventually. But he's a guy that can pull in some – if you Google his name and see some of the positions this guy – he can pull in a full-fledged break arm position completely away from his arm.
No, don't some guys scare you with that stuff, but it's their comfort zone, you know? It's everybody's,
So
you know what's great about this sport
Yeah.
is you can take a top roll and a hook and everybody can make it their own. You can combinations with it. I mean, it's really is a mini martial art.
Yeah, it truly is. Now,
What about you, Brian?
I think that it's interesting that you said Kelly Leach is your favorite arm wrestler. I find that a little bit fascinating. I don't know. I don't know who my favorite is. It changes from time to time, but this might surprise you guys a little bit, but I think I'm going to go with Earl Wilson. Now, mostly because he's the guy that I chased for 10 years. You know, it didn't quite take me that long to finally get a couple of wins on him, but I chased him for a long time. But it's almost like the way he carried himself.
Yeah.
Also a fierce competitor, but, you know, really, really cool on and off the table. And, you know, he was one of the guys that kind of reached out to me when I went to my first nationals and got my ass kicked. He was the guy that sat in the crowd with me as I'm not sure if he was a world champion, but he was many-time national champion at that point. And he sat there and gave me some much-needed encouragement as a young arm wrestler. And I've looked up to him for a long time. When I eventually beat him, it was kind of a bittersweet moment. But I always want to see him come back, and I always want to see it. And right up there with Earl is Mike Gould. So those two guys, I think.
I heard this guy's name, Mike Gould.
But I do like, you know, how can you go wrong with the John Berzink, who is the greatest of all time, or a Cobra Rhodes, who the first time I saw him in person arm wrestle at the Arnold Classic, he had a war with Alan Fisher that is stuck in my head to this day. Like it's
yeah, I like what you said, Ryan, about Earl Wilson, because picking the big names is easy, right? Like, you know, but when you look at, you know, some of these guys, like you said, like Kelly Leach and Earl Wilson, like there's guys not many people that want.
Yeah, Earl. Listen to me though. When I say Earl Wilson, on the world level, he is a big name. So North America, in Canada, in the last few years, nobody knows who he is. But you don't go back that far, and you have a world championship overseas. I believe it was Finland, where Earl Wilson takes 3 golds and 1 silver in one event. Both arms masters, 1 arm open, and then a silver in the open.
He's a big dude, Earl Wilson.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Hey, speaking of overseas, have you guys seen the new international league, Nomad Arm Wrestling League?
Never heard of it.
What's that? Tell us about it.
I just learned of it today, and I was checking it out. Go and Google it, have a look at it. It's I want to know if anybody in the chat has time. Go out and check it out. Nomad Arm Wrestling on YouTube, and have a look at some of the events. I think it's held in. I'm not sure where it's held actually. Maybe it's Russia, Ukraine, or something like that. But have a look at a couple of matches and let me know your guys' thoughts.
Billy Bergs in the chat says, "Be like water."
That's right.
Bruce Lee reference.
You know what that means? You guys know what that
means?
Or
the Kazushi Sakuraba reference.
What the hell? You guys know what flow like water means?
Absolutely, but you go ahead, Jimmy G. The floor is yours.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but in the past, I've been susceptible to putting a lot of unnecessary stress on myself, whether it's being a perfectionist or being worrying about things that are out of my control. And but what I've learned is there's things you can't control. The only thing you can worry about are the things you can control, and that eliminates a lot of stress. And if you understand that the good and the bad, when the bad stuff's happening to you, I used to be just like a lot of other people. Why me? Why me? I'm a good person. I'm doing all the right things. Why is my car broken? Or why this or why that? And then you're some people go into a state of depression or whatever. Some people, it could give you a damn heart attack if you let it take you there. But if you understand that there's a lesson in everything that's happening. Everything that's happened in your life before, during, and present, and in the future. It's all mapped out already. It just depends on what decisions you make that you can line up in 20 different dimensions. But if you flow like water and you realize that the bad that's happening to you in the moment is for a reason, because no matter what happens that's bad to us, if you learn from it and you don't fall apart, whatever that was, whether it's trauma, drama, whatever it is, becomes like a little chink of armor on you, like a Mandalorian. And whether it's you making a stupid mistake with the law or whatever, wife, girlfriend, or job, whatever. As long as you're, if you can learn from that and grow from it, I think, and not go crazy when all the bad stuff's happening, knowing that you're going to make it through, and that, especially if, basically what I'm trying to say is those kinds of traumas, whatever you're going through will equip you to deal with, either maybe help someone down the road to not make the same mistake, which is why I take an interest in young men, as far as like, if I see someone with talent, I'm not trying to tell them to live this way or that way, but you kind of want to guide them as a way to give back. When you get to be my age and you've lived and you've done good and bad, I think everyone's responsibility on this planet is to give something back in some shape or fashion. So flowing like water is just, it's like riding the wave. You know what I mean?
Yep. I hear that. Now, did you get it when I said Sakuraba?
No, what is that?
Okay. He's a famous mixed martial arts fighter.
Oh.
That was big. He was the Gracie Hunter.
Hey, I remember watching UFC back in the day, like Dan said, the first ones where they had bare hands.
Yeah.
That's real hands.
I got some good stories.
But since back then?
Yeah.
You're a fan. You have a passion for mixed martial arts. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you a little bit. I mean, I've been a fan since the day one, and we would wait for that VHS tape to go to the.
What drew you to it?
The video rental store. Well, in the early days, of course, it was, seeing who was the baddest, who was the karate guy better than the Muay Thai guy, or the wrestler, the jiu-jitsu guy. It was all the styles that got together like Lionheart, and he figured it out. Like Bloodsport, Jeff.
Oh,
just like out in your driveway when we circle all the cars and we just go for it.
You ready for a blood sport scene? You ready?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Give me a second.
You're going to do the...
Do you remember when Van Damme's Shidoshi's son died and they were sitting there and they were kneeling?
Yeah.
All right, give me a second. For 2,000 years, knowledge passed from father to son. When Shingo died, it stopped. And then Van Damme goes, teach me. I can do it. You're not Japanese. You're not a Tanaka. You told me, use any technique that works. Never to give me myself the one style. To keep an open mind. Why? To honor you, Shidoshi. Oh, I could do those movies line for line. I thought about doing a video. I thought about getting dressed up and putting the music in the whole nine. I got these.
I'm not laughing at him, man. I'm actually pretty impressed.
You gotta understand, I don't have my voice. These things would be.
That Van Damme was pretty spot on, man.
It was actually pretty good, and that you know word for word.
You know how many times I said, "Trust me."
I'm the parking attendant, and you're bothering
Suddenly,
my customers.
after 25 years, you're telling me you're not my uncle. Remember that Double Impact?
Yes.
Bro, I used to watch it. I would watch those Van Damme movies and just watch the fight scenes over and over. I got a quick story of Van Damme.
I've watched about 5 movies in my lifetime, and Bloodsport was one of them.
Here's a quick Bloodsport story, or a kickboxer story. I'm in the garage. I'm like 12 years old. I have these hockey goalie pads. the leg pads, and I'm watching Van Damme and Kickboxer kick the tree, right? So I'm like, I can do it. So I put the hockey goalie pad on the pole in the garage, and I'm going boom, boom. My dad comes out and he goes, take the fucking trash out or whatever he said. And I'm like, fuck you, Dad. And he goes, oh, you think you can take me now? And I watched Van Damme kickbox like 30 times, so I definitely can take him. And he goes, I'll give you the first shot. And I hit him with everything I had. And he goes, all right, my turn. And he goes, wow. And I'm like, fucking went down. That's the last time I challenged my pop. But he told me like 20 years later that hit took a toll on him. So that was pretty cool.
You got to do the brick not hit back scene.
What?
Huh?
Blood, or wasn't that blood sport? Or the brick doesn't hit back or whatever he says.
Break, not hit back. Yeah. I used to do the little Japanese guy would go. Yeah, I forget. Fuck him. Yeah.
Corey West is saying, Ryan, be nice to me.
Hey, I got a question for you
Corey.
guys.
Let's fire away, Jimmy G.
Frank, you have events in America and Canada. And Ryan, have you pulled in America a lot or not really? Before?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Can you guys give me a breakdown of Canada arm wrestling versus American arm wrestling, the differences? Because I'm just getting familiar with the Canadian.
In terms of what, rules or?
No, history.
Ryan would be much more educated on that.
Give me a little history on Canadian arm.
Well, the guy to talk to if you want the real history lesson is Eric Rusin.
Because I'll watch this, I'll rewatch this, and I'll do some research. I'm like a sponge.
Yeah, Eric is the guy for history, but
Or how about the pullers? Mind state pullers nowadays versus American. Is there a difference?
Well,
there is a difference. There's lots of different levels. Sometimes the guys in Canada remain unknown for a while.
How about the competition? Is the competition level fairly even, or what do you
there's
think?
a lot of really good pullers in Canada that have not been exploited yet that need to be. And I think I was talking to you, Ryan, about this, that I noticed the difference between U.S. and Canadian arm wrestling is, and this is one of the things when we have our meeting for the Alberta club or the organization that I want to bring up is one thing I noticed in the United States is it doesn't seem to matter where the event is. You get a lot of outside people coming in. So if it can be anywhere. It just seems to be a lot of travel to an event. People are not afraid to travel to these events, and I don't see that a whole lot in Canada. Where if we're having an event in Alberta, you may get a few guys from surrounding provinces, but not a huge group of guys. And it's one thing that I think we need to work on is more people traveling to these events, because we just end up with the same old boards all the time. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
I can tell you why. Because it is way more expensive to travel within Canada.
Yeah, but I mean, fair enough. But I mean, if we have one in Red Deer, Alberta, there's a lot of places you can travel from other provinces 6 hours away. I don't necessarily mean from one end of the country to the other. You don't have a lot of guys coming from Saskatchewan. You don't have a lot of guys going to the Fit to Fight events in Alberta. We have a few, but I mean, those events could have 100 more entries with the Alberta guys coming out.
Well, make somebody care, man. That's what you got to do. Make them care about the event. Why are they going to go?
What advice would you give to somebody like that? Like, what's a
you either need the opportunity to compete with someone that's the level of competition. You need the prize. You need the opportunity to rub elbows with the guys you look up to in the sport and can get knowledge from. All those elements play a role in that. So also population density, like in the United States, it isn't such a linear way of traveling.
Well, when I watched the Michael Todd Pro-Am, and I don't think Michael Todd gave a whole way of lucrative type prizes. And I remember the weeks leading up to that. Like, I mean, there was just people all over booking flights. it's like, I mean, traveling great distances to go to this event. And I agree, Ryan, definitely the cost up here is much more substantial than it is down south. And that may play a factor into it. But, you know, it's just something I think we need to do a little bit more research on to figure out. And the things that you just talked about are definitely come into play. But I do notice down in the States, these events that don't have huge giveaways, it could be even medals, that they just get really good turnouts. Like, I'm not sure what Sean Hancock gave away at Mississippi State, but I don't think it was just medals. And I mean, fuck, just all kinds of people going to these events.
Real quick about awards. This guy, Mike Runkle, or Bill Runkle, excuse me.
Bill, yeah.
Bill, excuse me. He had an event called Lock and Load. And the trophies he had there, they look like Viking warriors. And just because of that, I mean, some of the guys got even more pumped up than they would have if it was just been medals or whatever. I think sometimes those awards, if you see that the person putting on the event put the time and the effort into giving some kind of unique awards, I don't know if you guys, you may or may not know, but it makes a difference in the, I mean, if you take, money is money, and if you're arm wrestling for money, you're pumped up no matter what. But when you look at straight awards, when they're dope trophies or whatever, you know, something unique, that really it spikes the effort of the puller up a little bit. But when you have like just, you know, cheesy medals or whatever, I mean you're still competing, but the better the prize, the more effort you'll get out of the puller.
Yeah.
And not only that, some people will travel. If they see a dope ass trophy, they'll try. I think that attracts more pullers as well.
Yeah, I know Bryan Koerner is really successful with that. He puts on some, I think there's a few guys that do it, but Bryan Koerner is not fit open and he has some pretty.
Hey, what's that hat you're wearing? That looks pretty dope. The Total Arm Fighter. What's that? Series. Okay.
That's the new TAL reality series coming this summer.
Oh, look at this segue into reality TV. Isn't this tremendous? So tell me about this reality TV show a little bit.
Well, I don't have all the guts of it laid out yet, but what I'm going to do is I want to create a something similar to Game of Arms in a reality type show, you know, really focusing on amateur pullers and getting more people into the sport, going around club to club, you know, starting here in Alberta and then getting out there, you know, throughout North America, down to Mexico and then internationally, creating a series of tournaments and stuff like that, getting training and kind of showcasing these young pullers and some professionals too, and just creating a real cool reality series out of it. So
I got a few ideas about reality TV shows. You want to hear them?
Yes.
Let me think this. I could be totally full of shit. But if you want to attract, whether it's fans or new pullers into the sport, in a different way of looking at it is, I mean, when we talk about arm wrestling and you show arm wrestling stuff, the people that are invested in the sport already, it's very interesting to them. But to someone who has no idea what arm wrestling is, it's hit or miss. So I was thinking about, and I do this while I'm at work sometimes, just random thoughts, and I'll jot them down. I have all kinds of chicken scratch notes, just like this. But anyway, I thought about, was in regards to reality TV, what about intriguing them, enticing them, seducing them in ways they're comfortable with? This might, like, arm wrestling purists might not agree with this method, but it's worth mentioning. It could be garbage. I could have 100 ideas, 99 of them might be trash, but that one might stick. You ever, you've heard of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, right?
Yeah, I think Ryan was on that show.
Yeah. Would you watch?
I was an early elimination.
Wait a minute. You were on Bachelor?
No.
What the hell?
No.
Some of the top female arm wrestlers are pretty intimidating. Would you guys agree? As far as
but I think that's one of the biggest things is intimidation for new guys, and that's one thing that I didn't want to create.
Right.
With intimidation, it has to be a really comfortable platform for people to get involved in, and just showing up at a local club when you got guys like, they're 300 pounds and, bulging muscles, it can be really intimidating when you're new. So creating a really comfortable platform and area for these guys to pull in, I think is key too.
Yeah. One of the ideas I had was a bachelorette with a female top tier arm wrestler who is single. Imagine guys trying to court this woman who's an absolute killer. Wouldn't that be an interesting dynamic to see how that would work out? What I'm getting at is these couple of things I'm going to toss at you is taking things that are familiar to an average viewer and bringing arm wrestling into it as a backdrop to get their interest without putting it in their face with an all arm wrestling show. Another thing I was thinking of is, you can do game shows, because what I'm getting at, you could show there's so many personalities in the sport. You could do a lot of different ways of showcasing that outside of arm wrestling, teasing it and bringing them in that way. There's this, you ever hear the challenge on MTV?
Yeah.
What if you had like a couple of teams of arm wrestlers doing various challenges? These are just sideshows basically to what the sport's about. And like I said, some people wouldn't be crazy about it because it's putting arm wrestling in a different light. But what I'm trying to do is attract people to the personalities. Picture people who watch TV shows and are invested in characters or a storyline. We want to get these people interested because, like I said, there's stories that lead up to the table. There's a lot of substance to these people that lead up to the table. And I think if we can find ways to showcase that, the passion, that thing in way, arm wrestling shows like Game of Arms, in my opinion, especially in the past 5-10 years, has probably brought more people in than, say, Over the Top, wouldn't you say? I don't know. I could be wrong.
Hard to say. Everyone still talks about Over the Top.
Yeah, I know. But between Over the Top and Game of Arms, that's as far as people who have no idea what arm wrestling is and they've never been to an event, usually relate to one of those two things.
Yeah.
And it's with Over the Top, it could be part Stallone, and it's that feeling that when you watch the actual arm wrestling, it's almost like watching an Ali fight or something. That thing is alive. That feeling is alive. And I think you can show it in many different ways. It's like making love, guys. There's many different ways of making love. And I think there's many different ways to get people in this sport as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. You may not know this, but remember that show Wipeout?
Yeah.
Alan Ford was actually on that show.
No shit.
And they advertised him as a world champ, or I think a Canadian champion arm wrestler.
Yeah.
And he wore his national shirt on the show when he was competing.
Evan just put me on to that show that I showed you a video of, and I go, wait a minute, I know that guy reffing. And
that was a great show. I love that show. That was Arm Nation.
I think I'm 2 episodes in, but I'm going to check it out.
Keep watching, man. It's good. Yeah. Yeah. And then we got a question for you, Jimmy G. Billy Berg says, one last question. Who in general was your biggest inspiration?
This guy's good. And
then Curtis Mocan's asking a bunch of stuff, but if Curtis wants his question read, he can pay a super chat fee.
I think you got to have I tried to do that, but I think you got to have 1,000 to even do that. Super.
You got to have 1,000 subs, yeah.
Yeah, Gary was like, why are you doing the super chats? And I'm like, I don't know. And I researched and I was like, all right. It's a process. We'll get there. It's a process.
Yeah. So who's your biggest inspiration in general?
Let me think. Give me a second here. Sylvester Stallone. You want to know why?
Yeah.
It's not because of the Rock. It is because of the Rocky movie. I'll tell you why. The reason why I'm on social media, the reason why I do podcasts, and the reason why I'm arm wrestling, and I didn't know this until I was into it a little bit, is I love Over the Top. It's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. But I don't think it accurately depicts the sport as far as a representative of the entire sport. So I'm on a search, like I said, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, for the DNA of the sport, because I feel like I set a 5-year goal. I want to experience this sport as much as I can for 5 years. I want to eventually write a script. I want to make a movie. And my mother went to school with Sylvester Stallone. He was a drama kid who was quiet. He wasn't what you see now when he wrote that script. He wrote that script in a few days. I'm going to lock myself in a cabin when the time's right, and I'm going to write a script about arm wrestling. I'm going to make a movie somehow. And I'm not going to do it on one story. I think I want to compile a bunch of stories and create a movie about the sport as a whole from all of that. So what's to say I can't do it? I mean, he had to sell his dog. He was borderline homeless when he did it. I'm no better than anybody else, but if I have to pick an end game for this and an inspiration, that's it. I want to write a movie about this whole thing.
Yeah. Why they carrying him? You were the only guy other than Fraser Benoit that would get that reference.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
What's up,
Jimmy
guys?
G? Sometime I would love to come on your show and talk more.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
you wanted to chat with me about what Rocky meant to me. So
yeah.
I would love to do that on your show. Hey,
that's an episode by itself, eh?
That is an episode by itself.
One thing I'm learning is you can't give everybody everything in one shot.
That's right. So we're going on here, and we're running way past the time we normally would run.
Oh,
but
that would happen.
But we're barely scratching the surface of you. Like, we haven't even talked about your origins.
There's a lot of good content here.
This is the thing. Most of my podcasts end up being 2 to 3 hours. What I've done is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a guy named Howard Stern. Have you ever heard of him?
Of course. Yeah. The king of all media.
I grew up with, hey there, lady. She just does this every episode. She's the significant other. I grew up with Howard Stern. And I've grown. Hey, she's really laughing, like she's still laughing. And I'm really into Joe Rogan.
Me too.
Ever.
I think I've found a way to merge the two and add myself into it and do my own thing. That's why these things last so long. We might have to do a whole series, guys.
Yeah.
How long have we been on?
We've been on, we started at 7, an hour and 20.
What do you usually do, an hour?
Yeah, you should do about an hour, 45 to an hour.
Hey, real quick, if we're going to cut off soon, I have a couple of things I want to talk to you about pro wrestling. I've seen some pictures of you with some people, and I said, hey, hold on a second, brother. Where they at? Hey, relax. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Jake the Snake.
You have a picture with him.
Yeah.
Did you have a conversation with him?
I did.
What is he like?
He's a
nut job, bro.
He's an interesting guy. Listen, here's the thing with Jake.
When you met him, he was probably still in the mix, wasn't he?
No, he was past that. Like, he had done the tour, but these guys in Manitoba, there's a small wrestling circuit that does the big tour all over, kind of goes all over Western Canada.
That's Stampede Wrestling?
Not Stampede Wrestling. It's called CWE. And they go around Manitoba and Western Canada, do the big tour, and they always bring up some guy that was, a big name at one point. So they always make a stop in Gladstone, Manitoba. So when you go to Gladstone, Manitoba, there's like maybe a couple thousand people there. It's held in a school gymnasium, and there's maybe 50 people in the whole building, if you're lucky. So you go there, sometimes there's 10 to 20. Jake the Snake Roberts is sitting there by himself at his autograph table. So I have the opportunity to go up and actually spend some time with him, actually have a conversation.
You were a fan beforehand, I imagine.
Of course I was. Yeah. So I got pictures of Jake the Snake.
Walking up to the table. What's that
It's
feel
like This is Jake the Snake Roberts, man.
Yeah, this is
He
it.
gave one of the best interviews I ever heard before he was going to wrestle Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event.
Yeah.
And Gladstone, Manitoba, I also went and met Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, and we got talking about arm wrestling.
I know.
And he said, when you're going out in World Arm Wrestling League, he goes, do this to the camera. And I'll know what it means, he says. It's Mr. Wonderful as a gesture. So we, I got to meet Jake the Snake and Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, and
Hulk Hogan.
I met the
Hulk
Hulkster
Hogan
in Miami.
Rick, how Hulk Hogan, man?
I got to hang out with Hulk Hogan in Miami.
You were smaller back then, but you weren't.
I did the Visalis thing, and I went down to 240 pounds.
Yeah,
and I won the North American.
I know you're a national champion.
Yeah,
I'm like, damn, this dude. I didn't know that. That's
cool. And
I look up all you guys.
And I went down and I saw the Hulk.
I mean, I wanted to get into Jeff about why he started the TAL, but we're gonna have to wait for episode 2 of this whole thing.
Episode 2.
You shared a stage with Sylvester Stallone. I'm jealous.
I shook the man's hand.
I was going to say that to you, Jimmy G. I was going to say, did you know Ryan actually shook?
Oh, believe me, I do backgrounds on every interview that I'm on, and I wanted to bring that up. I was like, I can't believe it, because I would love to do that, but I seen he did that. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Chuck Zito.
Chuck Zito.
Arnold.
That picture with Chuck Zito is me and Matt Mask.
Matt Mask is another one I want to talk to. He's a nut job. But he takes that thing, and the thing is, I said this about Matt Mask. You know how some guys have a shtick where they'll go up to the table and they'll do the same thing or whatever they do? He's the only person in this sport where no matter what, every time he gets crazy, it's scary as hell.
You get Matt Mask on your show and you ask him what his visualization techniques are. And I'm not going to tell you any of it, but you ask him and it will give you chills.
Are
the
you,
stuff that he pictures.
Are you friends with him?
Yeah. Jeff's close. Jeff lives right in the same town.
Jeff, can you give him a little, I've found that sometimes if you give him a little whisper, vouch for me a little bit, he might give me a chance.
Well, you want to ask him right now? I can get him on the phone.
Get him on the phone right now, Jeff.
Jeff's big time in us right now.
He's that good.
He's big time in us.
Ryan, Steve-O. What the hell?
Steve-O did a comedy show in Winnipeg.
Yeah. I can't believe he's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
he's waiting. Jimmy, you want to do this again in a week?
Yeah, we can do this every week. No, I feel like we didn't get through everything, but we could definitely do this again.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Yeah, we should bring some bum on the show with us too next week, like Corey West.
No, let's bring one or two more times. Sure, I'm telling you.
FaceTime, he wants to say hi to you.
Oh my
Jimmy
God.
G, Philly's Jimmy G.
He has no idea who I am, but this is tremendous.
Are you busy right now?
Yeah. He's busy. Nah, cool. Jeez, Jeff didn't
for
come
a second,
through.
Ryan. I can't hear him. What's that? I said, are you busy right now?
It's all good.
Do it on. We'll get you. Okay. Episode 2, we're gonna get you to come on the show.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, bring him on episode. Listen, you got to leave the crowds wanting a little bit more.
All right, we got Jimmy and Matt next week. That's what it sounds like.
Sound good, brother?
Yeah. Oh my God! Wait till I get to talk to him. You guys think this was fun? Oh! Wait till I get in that man's brain. I do want to plug something before we cut off here.
Yeah, for sure. You do it.
Are we about at the end of this road here?
We're getting close, but Jeff, make sure Matt's committed to next week, and we'll have Matt and Jimmy back on the show.
Oh, Matt will come on.
Right on.
I'll do a whole profile, and I'll be ready for him next week. Believe it.
All right, Jimmy.
Matt.
Yeah.
This weekend, guys, as a dream, it's been a dream of mine ever since as a kid to go to California.
I saw that on your video.
I'm gonna go this weekend, and I'm going to a seminar with Todd Zilla.
Nice.
I'm gonna do an exclusive interview. Sit down with him. I'll film it, and it'll be put on the street in a little bit. I'm going to do a mini documentary about this is my first trip on an airplane in regards to arm wrestling. And I know I'm nobody, but part of the experience of watching what I do is I try to make people feel like they're either right next to me or that they're going through it with me. And I'm going to film this whole damn thing. We got a half a movie lined up. It'll be a mini movie this entire weekend. It starts, I have to leave here at 2 a.m. My flight leaves at 6.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to go to where arm wrestling began in America.
You're going to Petaluma.
Goddamn right, brother.
So when I went to California, I paid a cab driver $150.
Yeah.
Just to take me from my hotel to the original Gold's Gym in Venice, California.
Oh.
Just to take 2 pictures and go home.
All this stuff and my whole vibe and the whole thing I'm doing, I think a major part of this is going to where it all began in America. We're going to be on a tour. Guy's going to take us on a tour, tell us a story about the whole thing. I'm filming all that. I'll be with Todd Zilla. I'll be with Joe Drellick, MBK. And it's going to be a movie. Stay tuned to find out. Yeah.
Right on.
Jimmy?
Scorsese style with the narrative. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Episode 2 coming soon.
All right, brother.
TAL.
We appreciate you coming on the show.
Jeff, Bryan, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, I was trying to get him. One of my major goals was trying to get you to smile.
You did that.
But he did it. Victory.
I'm always smiling, brother.
I know. I'm just getting to know you.
All right. We'll see you guys right back here, same time next week. Yes?
Love, peace, and hair grease.
Right on.
Right on.
See you guys.